Thank you, Madam President, and I appreciate the courtesy of the Senator from New Hampshire. I will not speak long. I know she is here waiting to be heard as we go back and forth across the aisle in sequence. I want to begin by thanking Chairman Levin and his ranking member, Senator McCain, for the work that they have done on this detention issue. I think they've made a lot of progress, and I look forward to continuing work on the floor to try to conclude what I hope will be a successful agreement for everyone. But I'm here to speak about Amendment 1092 of the National Defense Authorization Act, which is the piece that has been put in that responds to the serious and ever-growing problem of counterfeit parts that appear in our military supply chain. Our nation asks a lot of our troops. We send them far away. We send them into danger. We ask them to suffer prolonged separation from their families. We ask them to put their life and limb in peril. And in return, we have a high obligation to give them the best possible equipment to fulfill their vital missions and come home safely. And in order to assure the proper performance of our weapon systems, of our body armor, of our aircraft parts, and of countless other mission-critical parts, we have to make sure that they are legitimate and not counterfeit parts. That's why I introduced the Combating Military Counterfeits Act, which was reported without objection by the Judiciary Committee on July 21st of this year. It is co-sponsored by my colleague Senator Graham, who I see here on the floor, by the ranking member, Senator McCain. Again, my appreciations to him. Senator Coons, the chairman of Judiciary, Chairman Leahy, Senator Kyle, Senator Schumer, Senator Hatch, Senator Blumenthal, and Senator Klobuchar. And I want to thank all of those co-sponsors for their support and leadership on this important issue. I particularly want to thank Chairman Levin and Ranking Member McCain for including this in their Amendment 1092, which was offered earlier today. Senator Levin and Senator McCain led an in-depth investigation in the Armed Services Committee into this problem of military counterfeits, and they have drawn on that investigation in making these important reforms that will protect military procurement from counterfeit parts. I'm very glad that they believe, as I do, that enhanced criminal penalties in my bill would provide a useful complement to those important changes. Prosecutors have a really important role to play in the fight against military counterfeiters. The criminals who sell counterfeit military products should not get off with light sentences. They knowingly sell the military, for instance, counterfeit body armor that could fail in combat, or a counterfeit missile control system that could short circuit at launch, or a counterfeit GPS that could fail under battlefield conditions. The Combating Military Counterfeits Act of 2011 makes sure that appropriate criminal sanctions attach to such reprehensible criminal activity. First, by doubling the maximum statutory penalty for an individual who traffics in counterfeits and knows that the counterfeit product is intended for military use or identified as meeting military standards. And second, by directing the Sentencing Commission to update the sentencing guidelines as appropriate to reflect our congressional intent that trafficking in counterfeit military items be punished seriously, sufficiently to deter this kind of reckless endangering of our service members. The administration has called for these increased sentences for trafficking in counterfeit military products. In the private sector, this legislation is supported by the United States Chamber of Commerce, the National Association of Manufacturers, the Semiconductor Industry Association, DuPont, the International Trademark Association, and the International Anti-Counterfeiting Coalition. I thank all of them for their work and leadership on this issue. One semiconductor manufacturer, ON Semiconductor, which has a development center in East Greenwich in my home state of Rhode Island, has written a letter of support explaining that military counterfeits are a particular problem since military-grade products are attractive to counterfeiters because their higher prices reflect the added cost to test the products to military specifications that include the full military temperature range. So it's a target area for counterfeiters, and I will say, without going on at any great length, that the examples are really shocking. The Defense Department, for instance, has found out in testing that what it thought was Kevlar body armor was, in fact, nothing of the sort and could not protect our troops the way proper Kevlar can. In another example, a supplier sold the Defense Department a part that it falsely claimed was a $7,000 circuit that met the specifications of a missile guidance system. A January 2010 study by the Commerce Department quoted a Defense Department official as estimating that counterfeit aircraft parts were leading to a 5 to 15% annual decrease in weapon system reliability. The investigation led by Chairman Levin and Ranking Member McCain revealed countless other grave and sobering examples. I'm glad that we are responding to the serious and ever-growing threat posed by counterfeit military parts. Again, I thank Chairman Levin and Ranking Member McCain for their great work to eliminate counterfeit parts from the military supply chain, and I hope all my colleagues will support their amendment number 1092. And I yield the floor.
Senator from Michigan.
Madam President, I'm sorry. Madam President, first let me thank Senator Whitehouse for the extraordinary effort that he's made to go after counterfeit parts. And we have incorporated his legislation in our legislation. It's a critically important part of our legislation. But his leadership has been early, often strong on this issue, and we commend him for it, thank him for it, and hopefully that this amendment, when it gets passed, that there will be a recognition of the critical role that the senator from Rhode Island played in this. And it's an ongoing saga to stop counterfeiting coming in mainly from China, and this would be a major effort to stem that flow. And Madam President, I yield the floor.
Madam President, could I just add my appreciation, words of appreciation along those with the chairman for Senator Whitehouse's hard work on this very important issue. Madam President, I yield.